Boom, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. And today we've got Anthony. Anthony, welcome. And yeah, without wasting time, I just want us to quickly jump into the story of who you are and where you're from.
Perfect, perfect. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. So I'm based in East London, the capital
Right.
of South Africa. All right, this is the metropolis, and
Right.
DJ, we sell inverters. All right, so backup systems for basic households, etc. I
Yeah.
think everyone knows that load shedding is a huge problem in South Africa at the moment, and
Correct.
we've been selling inverters for since 2015.
Right.
So yeah, that's basically what we do. That's what we do.
But your journey didn't start off by selling inverters. Inverters only came in recently or became a thing
Yeah.
recently. What's your background like, man? How did you get to start to be in business, actually?
To where I is. Okay, so for me, born and bred in East London. I'm old now, but when I was young, my father had a video shop, believe it or not, a video store, which
Right.
he traded. He was open for 33 years, so it was very well known store in East London. East London's a small town. So I left school in 1999, and I started working for my father in the video store. It wasn't a conventional store. We did a lot of sort of electronic products back then, TVs, hi-fis, and yeah, basically started working for my father from 1999 when I left school. He basically mentored me and showed me the ropes when it came to sort of buying and selling and sales and whatever little business knowledge I have. And obviously with the video industry dying out over time, everyone downloads and streams Netflix and stuff like that. So the industry became obviously null and void. We closed in 2013 and then I opened my...
Maybe, Anthony, I'm going to have a lot of people asking us, this younger generations, they're going to be asking us, what is video? Well, what was a video? Tell us what was the video and why do you think that it's no longer a thing and yet it used to be a business?
So the history of sort of videos and television dates right back. But we were renting out videos. So that's a VHS cassette, which most youngsters wouldn't even know what that is. They would never know. You had a machine next to your TV, which you'd put a tape in, a cassette, you'd have to rewind it. It was actually crazy compared to like where we are now, And push play.
I remember one of the mottos of some of the video shops was "Be kind, rewind."
Yeah, exactly right. Because people would watch their video and then they'd return it to us as the video store owner, and they wouldn't rewind their cassette, And not only that, they used to break and the tapes used to stretch, and it was we've come a long way. Let's put it that way, So
right.
I must be honest, though. One thing that I do miss is the sort of family side of things. People would go on a Friday and go to a video shop, and they'd stand in that shop and they'd look at all the new release titles and they'd chat about it. And then actually, it was very social. Whereas now you're lying on the couch and you've got a button, you push Netflix, you're scrolling through. So the world has, unfortunately, with technology, become very, very much smaller and less intimate, if that makes sense. So on that side of things, it's quite sad to see that era end. But we've obviously jumped 10,000 steps ahead, It's a big, big difference to where we are or where we were, So
Speaking specifically to that business of cassettes, I hear rumor headed that back in the days, the guys that were owning, these big stores in the States, they were actually approached by the guys who were doing Netflix, and they didn't see it as a thing at the time. They're like, nah, it's not, it's.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was Blockbuster Video, and they were the biggest sort of video retail store in America. They had hundreds of stores all over the country. They tried to bring out a system called Redbox, whereby every McDonald's had this little box in. So you could rent a video from Blockbuster and you could take it and put it in any one of these boxes anywhere in the country. And as long as it was returned and checked back into stock, you could go to any store. It was a very good system. but
Yeah.
you can't compete with the internet. You know what I mean? The World Wide Web is just too powerful. It's just unfortunate. Anything that's got access to internet, you've got at the at the touch of your fingertips. So the world has changed a lot, since my day. I'm old. You look young, so maybe you still. Do you know what a video cassette is?
I do. I just use a lot of Liveboy, a lot. The red one, you should try it. It just keeps you young.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now, Anthony, whilst we're talking about that, on this channel, we're always talking about business and real estate as well. But when I look at the business of video cassettes dying, and that's where you started off understanding business. And for you to actually go through that process where you actually hang on the towel and like, this is it. There's no one doing this. What would you say maybe is your key lessons of observing that this business is dying, not because of your own doing? You are managing the business so well,
100%,
but the world has just changed over. What
Absolutely.
would you say your key lessons there would be?
Look, for me, so from VHS, we went over to DVD. So remember, there was still the DVD lifestyle, so everyone was renting discs instead of video machines. So I went through that whole process from VHS to DVD, and from DVD to downloading. So people they were using sites like uTorrent and BitTorrent, and they were downloading movies, storing them on their computer on an external hard drive, and they were basically watching them through their TV or through their computer. And that was kind of when I realized this business of ours, which had been around for 33 years, is now becoming redundant. No one's going to come and hire videos anymore because people are slowly downloading. And at that stage, our internet line speeds were only, we were only getting like 1 meg or 2 meg line speeds, So I studied IT when I left school while I was working for my father. I had that same book that's on your desk, believe it or not, that networking. I had the same book, believe it or not, Networking Essentials. I studied that 20 years ago, But in saying that, it's quite scary because we had a very good business, but obviously I could see the business was declining slowly but surely. It was getting lesser and lesser and lesser. And as the internet and the line speeds were speeding up, the downloads were getting faster. And all of a sudden, people were slowly looking at streaming. So in 2012, 2013 in South Africa, streaming wasn't really a big thing. Netflix wasn't anything here back then. It was only starting to take shape, So being in IT, it's what I studied and it's what I know. I could see basically the decline and the way things were changing. It was quite a sad time, but if you're not going to look at trying to change with the times, unfortunately, you're going to end up being left behind. It happened to us. We kept the business way too long. And before we knew it, we couldn't sell the business because no one's going to buy a business in a dying industry. Who's going to rent a video nowadays? Who's going to rent a DVD? Everything changed, So it was a valuable lesson for me. It cost us everything at the end of the day. And then I decided from there, I could see the end was coming, and I decided to go into basically what I'm doing now. Not only inverters, because we are primarily IT based, but I started my new business venture then in 2013. We closed the one store and we opened up the junction.
So when you were renting out DVDs and videos and so on, what would you say was your peak when you were sort of like, maybe you'd have taken over the business from your father? And at that peak, what did it look like? Maybe in terms of rental, things like that.
No, look, it was fantastic. His business was probably one of the most powerful video stores in the country for many years. So for me, I learned his philosophy in life. So I started in 99. My dad pretty much retired in about 2006, 2007. That's when I started taking more responsibility and so on. He'd obviously come to the office and this and that.
So you were pretty young.
I did a lot since then. I've done a lot since then. I opened a nightclub, we opened a bar, opened a promotions company. I've tried a few different things in life and learned a lot. I've learned a lot. And I tell you what, the most valuable lesson I learned in business was actually going bankrupt. You learn so much. You learn so much about money and how to keep money and how to not make the same mistakes again, and also follow patterns in business, you know. And yeah, I don't know. I think I've learned a lot. Not to say that I can never go wrong, but I've definitely learned a lot.
Yeah. I want to, you speak of the concept of being bankrupt. Bankrupt just basically means, for some of our viewers out there, you might not know what bankrupt is.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, it's the bank declaring you that nobody can borrow you money, and things like that. So that's what bankruptcy is. But you can Google that as well. But I want to speak to the nuts and bolts of how did you become bankrupt?
Yeah. So with me, I was lucky because bankrupt, I use the term bankrupt, but I never declared insolvency. So if you are declared bankrupt, you actually can declare yourself insolvent. Okay. And that means that you have to get a debt counselor involved and consolidate your debt, and you get blacklisted by the banks, and it takes a lot of time to get past, you know. It takes years actually, depending on how far in debt you are. So for me, my biggest debt was my landlord, and my landlord at the time was a very, very wealthy businessman here in East London, famous businessman. And when I say wealthy, unbelievably wealthy, and a ruthless businessman. But because my dad was a tenant of his for 33 years, we always paid on time. We were always good tenants. But my biggest debt was the rent. We couldn't pay the rent. It was just getting more and more and more. My turnover was getting less, and I was just going more and more into debt and a bigger hole. So eventually, I actually set up a meeting with him, and I went and I sat with him, and I said, Tony, we've known each other for a long time. The business is declining, as you can see. And I try to explain what's happening in the world of today with internet coming out faster and videos becoming more and redundant. And he as a big businessman understood that. So I said to him, you can obviously sue me for the money you owe me. We can do that, or we can sign an agreement, and over the next year or two, however long it takes, I'll try my best. Every cent that I get, I'll pay you off. And you know what? He actually said to me, he said, Anthony, you've got a good name in town. He said, take your time and just pay me off as you can. It took me a year and a half. But every month, every cent that I got in, I basically gave to him, and I cleared him, and everything worked. We all walked away happy, you know. So it was quite a thing for me, because it took me a long time to get through that, especially without a business. But yeah, I tried and I did it, you know. And we're still friends, and we still chat to this day, which is awesome. So
I think that's a key lesson there. And I think a lot of people, when we get ourselves in trouble financially, we tend to not have the conversation with the relevant people, be it a landlord or be it the bank, and so
even the bank or whoever.
But what you're saying here is there's options, and there's options that you were not even aware of.
Yeah, you see, for me, you know, and to give anyone advice with struggling financially, if you owe people money, the people that you owe, if you stay in contact with them, if you just make an effort to tell them what's happening in life, to keep in contact, like, you know, just be open and honest and say, look, I'm struggling. I can't afford to pay you now, but I will pay you, but I will. Some people, unfortunately, are malicious, and they're not interested in paying back their debt. And I promise you, karma is a real thing. It will come back to you, and you will live an unhappy life for the rest of your life. Rather try as best as you can. If you owe money to someone, try to pay them off, even if it's 100 Rand a month or 1,000 Rand a month, 10,000 Rand a month. I promise you, it'll make the world of difference to your well-being as well. You know, it's important. It's important.
Yeah. So Anthony, I want to speak to, I don't know, at this time, are you at this time of your life where now you're not able to pay? The VHS business has died, and now you're almost, you know, I have no money, and you used to have a business. So that whole thing of you used to afford, and now you can't afford, right? Mentally, how did you progress from where you were, which is in the pit, to come back again? How, just walk us through that process
So
what helped you to get to where you are?
Absolutely.
Because you're in a different position.
So obviously, I saw for about a year at the end of the video era. It took about a year before that process went from completely bankrupt, if you know what I mean. I saw the decline was happening fast. So in that time, for the last sort of 12 months, I was trying to do what I knew best.
Right. So Anthony, you are in this now, and you kind of like coming back, and mentally, where were you? And now you're in a different space of life. And I want us to talk about how did you get your mental space to be right? Because a lot of people, they go through this sort of a challenge and they never come back.
Correct.
But how did you come back?
So I've always been quite a positive guy. Like even every day. I mean, my business now has grown quite a bit. We've got 2 stores at the moment. My staff are growing. My stress is growing. My bank accounts up and down. But I've always been positive. So for a year or year and a half that it took me to try and pay all these debts off, you're obviously waking up with a mindset now. You've got no money. You've got no real stream of income. I'm basically hustling as best as I can. So I'm buying and selling, and I'm buying and selling. I was basically borrowing money from friends and family. But I was also doing it quite cleverly. I was quite cautious about what I was doing. So I would maybe buy a laptop, for example, and I would sell it. And if I borrowed the money to buy that laptop, when I sold it, I'd pay the money back to whoever I borrowed it from, So I was utilizing other people's money as best as I can, but I was paying it back straight away. I wasn't trying to build up my account and just keep using their money and rolling it, So it took a long time. And a lot of hard work and building up trust to the point that some of the people that loan me money to this day, if I need any sum of money, they'll give it to me like that. They won't even think twice because I paid them back as quickly as possible and fast, So it was a lot of stress and a long time, a lot of like substituting or basically giving up all the good things in life, going out for dinners and restaurants. I mean, I had to borrow money for petrol for my car, So it was a long road, but it taught me, it humbled me, and it taught me a lot. It really, really did. It taught me how to look at life in a different perspective.
So in property investment, we've got a term that is called other people's money. And you have just explained it in a very easy way. Borrow from someone, buy a laptop for 3,000. Let's say 3,000. Do what you need to do, sell it to the next person, make 5 grand, keep 2 grand, and pay back the 3 grand.
Exactly right. So I was giving a bit of interest. I was paying a bit of interest on top of the money, but the turnaround time was very quick. So I also, because I've been around and I've been in business for a long time, I've got a lot of friends and a lot of clients that I've known, people that I've known for years. And we had a very good name in our business. We still do. So people have always sort of trusted me. So in that sense, I made sure I did what I was doing, and I was trying to turn the money quickly. But you hit the nail on the head. You pay 3. If you sell it for 5, you give the 3 back with a little bit of interest on top, and you put the 2 aside, So that's basically exactly how it began. And I went to all my family members. I cleared out their garages. I said, well, there's a TV stand, there's this, all the stuff lying around, a vase, you name it, a couch, anything and everything that they didn't want. It's basically rubbish. And I said, give it to me. I'm going to sell it for you. I'm going to sell it. And I started selling all their goods and giving them money for it and making a bit of profit. Half of the time, they didn't even want it, So I was trying everything under the sun to raise a bit of capital, And it took time. But we got there.
Right. You went into promotions. You went into running a club. And now you've got 2 shops, and basically you want to walk us through what you do now. I know you mentioned it at the beginning, but there's a full spectrum of what you are doing now. And why you have chosen that business outside the other businesses that you have done before.
So when I was going through that transitional phase of closing the video store down, Gumtree, I mean, Gumtree's been around for 20 years, but it's obviously grown unbelievably in the last, let's say, 10 years, you know? So I thought to myself, I know IT, I know computers, it's my skill, I studied it. I studied graphic design, a little bit of video editing and that sort of stuff. So my background is all computer-based, you know? And when I was closing the business, I realized that the IT sector is growing extremely fast. It's growing extremely fast. But I also realized that people didn't have money. So at that stage, a new laptop could cost you 10,000 Rand, for example. All right. And I thought, hang on a second, maybe I can look at buying and selling secondhand laptops, you know, because you're going to get the laptop at a reduced price. You know what I mean? The same product, it might be a bit older, but you're going to save money. And South Africa doesn't have money. So let me look on Gumtree. Let me look on Facebook. Let's see if I can pick up deals, negotiate with people, buy this product, because I studied IT, check the product out, make sure that everything is good to go, and resell it at a profit and offer a warranty. And this is where the difference is between even what I'm doing right now and everyone else.
What we do at the Junction. So we started in 2013. My business originally was a buy and sell. That's what we started as. The idea was to go online and find IT or electronic based products, because that's what we know and that's what we do best. Buy them in, refurbish them if they need to be refurbished, check them, test them, and then resell them at a profit with a warranty. And that, I think, is what made us different to everyone else. When you buy from us, you're getting a good product and you're getting after sale service and support. And if you check us out online, you'll see we have over 10,000 followers on Facebook. My website is down at the moment, www.thejunction.co.za. It's Junction with a K. But we are working on getting it back up. We are basically rebranding and revamping. So by next week, hopefully we'll be up and running. Please go have a look. We run amazing specials, discounts. Inverters for load shedding has become a huge thing at the moment. You know, without power, you can't trade. So it's sad that we have to sell these products, but I tell you what, it is crucial to your business, you know. And then tips on starting up a new business. My advice would be to run the figures. Just run the numbers. Do your projections. What are you going to sell? Is there a gap in the market? How are you going to be different to anyone else? If you need, you must make sure that you have enough money to carry you through the quiet times, because I tell you what, it takes at least a year to 2 years to start generating a bit of money for yourself. For me, for the first 2 years, I never really took anything out. I kept buying more stock, building up my stock levels. So, I mean, we went from having 10,000 Rands worth of stock to having 2 million Rands worth of stock, if that makes sense. So it's very, very important. Start your business right. We've got the internet at our access, influencers, YouTube, Google, research, do your homework, find out what separates you from everyone else. And that's definitely going to be my advice for a new business. And then make no mistake, there's no easy way. Hard work. Hard work. You have to put in the hours. And then what does success look like? I'm not 100% sure what success looks like for some people. For me, I have a beautiful family. I have a beautiful business. I have a beautiful team of staff, and I believe investing in people. As the company grows, I want my staff to grow with me. You want to empower people. You want to grow together, you know. But through COVID and all these weird and wonderful things that we've had happen to us in South Africa or in the world, you know, I think people must just want to stay alive. There's so much stress and panic and sickness. So for me, success is being able to provide food for my family, maybe go on a holiday now and then, look after people around me if I can.